Hi, and welcome back to my Pokemon Family Tree project. This video is going to cover the early mammals of the Pokemon world, which are some of the most ambiguous and unique Pokemon. This video is actually part of a series, and the playlist is linked below if you want to check out the other videos. Well, firstly, what is a mammal? Well, a mammal is a type of animal, and hopefully we are both mammals. Sometime after amphibians first came to land, some of them developed mammalian traits that differentiate them from lizards or birds. When it comes to classifying what type of animals are mammals, we can look at a few features. For one, all mammals have some sort of hair or fur for insulation. When you think of an animal like a tarantula, which also has hair, this is for sensory purposes instead. Mammals also are all warm-blooded, meaning that they maintain a similar body temperature no matter the temperature. Birds and lizards often seek out hot environments as they don't have this ability. When it gets too cold for these animals, their body temperature will drop. Finally, all mammals have mammary glands, where the word comes from. Mammary glands allow the production of milk, which is key to the development for young mammals. One feature that you might think is key to mammals, but isn't, is live birth. This is because of the monotremes. Monotremes are the only animals that don't give birth to live young. Instead, they still maintain the practice of laying eggs. In the modern world, we only have two species of monotremes, the platypus and the echidna, which, if you know anything about these animals, you'll know that they're some of the weirdest and oddest animals in the world. The platypus is a semi-aquatic egg-laying mammal of action, whilst an echidna is a small hedgehog-like animal. However, let's just say it's packing a bit more than a hedgehog. As for representations of these animals within Pokemon, I could only really find one. There is a popular fan theory that Golduck is actually a platypus and not a duck. The two of them do look very similar, however, I think that Golduck is probably a duck. Blissey, on the other hand, could be an echidna. Blissey is a really hard Pokemon to categorize on this list. I'd say it's much more of a theme-based Pokemon than any particular animal. What I mean by this is that Blissey is based on the idea of a nurse or a maternal figure much more than it is any particular animal. Its pre-evolution Chansey was designed in Generation 1 simply to fill the void of having a Pokemon that the nurses could have. It isn't meant to be any particular animal. That being said, Chansey looks a lot like an axolotl, which fits considering its healing theme and the axolotl's ability of regeneration. However, one of the key rules that I've set myself for this chart is to only go off the final stage of Pokemon. I see Pokemon evolution much more as a metamorphosis than a real-life evolution. Evolution can take centuries, and the stages of life that Pokemon evolution represent clearly look a lot more like metamorphosis. They grow and change until they reach a final at-peace form. Considering Blissey then, we can identify a few features of an echidna. Blissey and its line have a lot of theming around the idea of eggs, as well as having a pouch to put these eggs in. It also has these big protruding spines. I originally thought that these were feathers and maybe Blissey could be a bird, but what if they're actually the spines similar to that on an echidna? With all this being said, I think that an echidna is the best place to classify Blissey. It's not perfect, but it fits. Carrying on from this, we have the Marsupials of Pokemon. Marsupials also have a very unique birth structure. Unlike most mammals, marsupial pregnancies can last very short periods of time, often around a month. When their young are born, a lot of their development comes in pouches, where they are kept safe from the outside environment and are still given nourishment. Marsupials are very rare, only existing in the Americas and Australia. The two Pokemon Marsupials are exclusively Australian. Komala is very, very clearly just a koala. It's one of the few Pokemon that could just fit in as a regular animal. Kangaskhan, on the other hand, has what I like to call Generation 1 Monster Syndrome. A lot of Generation 1 Pokemon are very generic. Look at the Nidos, the Slow Twins, or Marowak. They just have a kind of monster feel to them. Pokemon designs have come a long way since the start of the series, and now we get much more definitive and clearer inspirations for what our Pokemon are based off. That being said, Kangaskhan has a lot of features of a kangaroo, and its whole pouch theming clearly indicates that this is the direction they were going with. After Marsupials, we get what are known as placental animals. A placenta is a temporary organ that helps develop the baby within the body. Monotremes and Marsupials don't have this, hence why they have weird ways of giving birth. One of the oddest groupings of animals is the Atlantogenata. This includes a lot of animals that you might not think are closely related. For one, we have Heatmor and Slacking. Heatmor is very clearly an anteater, however Slacking is much more generic. It comes from a line that is clearly sloths, however itself has a lot of ape-like tendencies. Just look at those thumbs. When you consider a real sloth's hands, they look very similar to that of an anteater, making sense as to why these two are related. However, Pokemon already has a lot of primates, and I think that for diversification's sake, I should consider Slacking as a sloth. On another branch of the Atlantogenata, we have the elephant Pokemon. Mammoths is clearly some sort of distant ancestor to this group of Pokemon, with the other two elephants of Pokemon being Donphan and Copperajah. In my opinion, these two Pokemon are a perfect example of how Pokemon designs have changed. Donphan is based off the concept of rolling an elephants, and is very clearly just a generic elephant. By the time we reach Galar, Pokemon origins become a lot more complex. Copperajah is clearly based off some sort of Indian elephant. Its markings clearly show this. It's also much more themed into its region, with connections between Britain and India. If you look at any animal that has Pokemon representatives across multiple generations, you will start to see this. That being said, elephants share a similarity with one of the most Gen 1 origins ever, Dugong, who is literally just a dugong. This video has been a lot shorter, as the early mammals are very difficult to categorize. I'll probably make 3 more videos on the mammal Pokemon, so look out for those. If you've liked this video, please consider liking or subscribing. Thank you.